How do you handle being in the world right now when things like what's happening in Ukraine is going on, genocide, children being murdered in school, climate change? I think that's the biggest one for me. How do
Right.
you how do you handle all of that?
Um, well, one of the biggest things for me is that um, I just sort of always hold that that's happening. Like it's not a surprise to me. It doesn't, shock me because I'm always aware that there's horrible things happening in the world. Um, and so then when it bursts out into the national media that some horrible thing has happened, like it's painful, and I feel for the people who are experiencing that. But it doesn't rock me because I know that's happening all the time. Whether it's a school shooting or a war, or even climate change. So, so that's part of it. Like when 9/11 happened, a lot of people were really traumatized by that. But for me, I was like, well, this stuff is happening all the time everywhere. Like it happened to us. We have a lot of people in a lot of pain, and we have to deal with that. But it didn't shock me because it's happening all the time and people just kind of conveniently ignore it or pretend like it's not happening because it feels safer, or that's just how they manage living life on a painful planet. um, so I just kind of consciously decided at one point just to not forget, just keep that in mind. This is happening in every moment, and so it doesn't rock my world when something big happens because it's always happening. And then the other part of it, and climate change was the hardest bit for me. I found that very, very hard to accept because we can have our conflicts, we can have our wars, things can get better because we work hard at it, and things have been getting better over the last few centuries. But if we don't have a livable planet, then we can't have that drama play out. We can't have a resolution to all the trauma and pain and war and strife and so forth that we've created. Um, so to me, not to mention, of course, the trillions of beings just being decimated by our actions. So that was really hard. I just could not quite accept that, and I had to go through a really deep soul searching process to figure out how can I be with this, even with how painful it is and how destructive it is. And it just came down to accepting life as it is. Everything, even the worst parts. Like we talk about that in spiritual circles, and that's helpful for the small things. But most people get to a point where they balk, where they just can't accept a certain aspect of life. There's just too much pain in it, too much something that they just can't be with, and then they stop being with it, and they reject it, and they fight it, and they suffer for that rejection, more so than if they would feel what's behind it and accept those feelings and then move into a different space with it. So I just had to go through that process myself over what came up for me, the pain that came up for me, the fear, the like the idea of everything just being destroyed by our own hand just seemed like the most horrible thing that we could do. And I just had to accept that that's a potential reality. That's what's happening in this reality right now.
Would someone say that you're missing feeling some of those human emotions around all of this?
Uh,
Like how traumatizing it is.
right. And it is traumatizing. And trauma is part of what's happening right now too. And we can fight that reality, or we can accept that that's what's happening as well. The the fighting and resisting life doesn't make life change. It actually makes life worse. The resistance to things that we can't be with is why we have war, why we have conflict, why we have strife. People are trying to manage their pain by resisting it, and they get into such deep, dark places with it that they wind up hurting other people, sometimes very, very badly. Sometimes millions of people will get hurt because one person just couldn't be with something. Like Hitler couldn't be with being rejected from art school. And he wound up killing millions of people because he couldn't be with that. So is the solution to just keep not being with what we find painful, just doing more of what caused the problem in the first place? Or do we change gears? Do we find another strategy? Do we look at what's not working about that approach and find something else that will work, that will actually work? And I've just found that for myself, when I accept life as it is, then I'm not in resistance to life, and then I don't have to treat people badly. I don't have to treat myself badly. And if my example translates to other people, I don't know that it does. This is just my experience. But if it does, then I think it's good advice to give. Be with everything, including the most painful, traumatic things, as you are capable. Obviously, don't do it all at once. Don't hurt yourself. Don't, create a new drama out of it. Just do your best, and that will move the needle in a new direction.
Say what you just said again.
Shit. What did I say? Wait, you were saying how you hate that the solution is always just be with it. Just be with it. What a crazy, stupid fucking idea. Who came up with that? It's a terrible idea. Why is that the solution? And nobody came up with that as the solution. It's just that that's what addresses the problem. The problem is we resist life. So the solution is to stop doing that. Just stop doing that.